Please report.
Inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, would you tell us your full name and your place of employment?
James Downing. I'm an investigator for the Medical Examiner's Office, Volusia County, Daytona Beach,
And how long have you been employed with the medical examiner's office?
for 5 years.
Could you describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury some of the duties that you have as an investigator for the medical examiner's office?
Objection, Your Honor.
Go ahead. We get the initial call advised by the police department of a death that occurs within Volusia County that is a, other than, shall I say, of natural means.
Objection, Your Honor.
Florida State Statute 406 defines that we take jurisdiction.
You don't have to do that, just what you do.
Okay, well, we get the call from the police agency, whoever it is, and we determine from the phone call whether or not we will respond to the scene, investigate the scene along with the police agency to determine the manner and cause of death.
You were on duty on December 13th, 1989.
Yes, sir, I was.
During the course of your official duties, you had an occasion to go out and assist the police in the reclamation of a body that was found in the Ormond Beach area of Volusia County.
Yes, sir, I did.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Madam Clerk, may I see the photographs?
Is the defendant seen these that you have here?
Yes, sir. That is the moment that separates them.
Yes, sir.
Sir, let me show you what has been marked as an exhibit for identification purposes at this time that states E2 for identification. Ask you if you can recognize that photograph.
Yes, sir, I do.
Is that a fair and accurate representation of the scene as you saw it on December the 13th, 1989?
Yes, sir, it was.
Let me show you, sir, what has been placed in evidence. Excuse me, what is marked for identification purposes that states E4 for identification purposes. Ask you if that is a fair and accurate representation of the scene as you saw it at that time.
Yes, sir, it is.
I show you, sir, what has been previously introduced in evidence and admitted as evidence as states 8-1 and 8-2, a composite exhibit. I ask you if you can recognize those photographs.
Yes.
Are they fair and accurate representations of the scene that you were describing to the jury that you went to on December the 13th, 1989?
Yes, sir, they are.
Let me show you also, for the purpose of identification, sir, states E composite 5. E5, sir. Is that a fair and accurate representation of the scene as you saw it on December the 13th, 1989?
Yes, it is.
And let me show you, sir, what has been marked as states L, 1 and 2. Do you recognize those photographs?
Yes, sir, I do.
Those, along with the other photographs that I've shown you at this time, do they fairly and accurately represent the scene as you saw it on December the 13th, 1989?
Yes, they do.
Lastly, let me show you, sir, what has been marked as state Q for identification purposes. Do you recognize that photograph?
Yes, I do.
And, sir, does that photograph fairly and accurately represent the scene as you saw it on December the 13th, 1989?
Yes, sir, it does.
Now, if I may, sir, can you describe the scene as you observed it for the first time on December 13th, 1989? What was the condition of the human remains when you arrived?
No objection to the witness refreshing himself with photographs or any other document if he needs to.
No ruling, you may proceed.
I said no objection to Jim, sorry. You're seeing it.
All right. So you want the record to reflect?
Yeah, if you'd like to, that's fine with us.
Could you describe the scene as you observed it when you arrived on December 13th?
Okay, the scene was a wooded area off of US 1, approximately 1/2 of a mile north of I-95 in Volusia County. It was off of the southbound side, and there is a trail which is represented by this photo that we showed here, and this is quite relatively accurate.
I object to the publication.
At this time, without showing the
Okay.
photo, let's describe what you observed.
Okay.
Then we'll get into the photo.
There was a trail leading off into the woods, which was the first thing I saw from the roadway.
And what, if anything, did you see after making those initial observations?
Well, I met with the sheriff's deputies that were there, and they told me that you had to follow the trail back in for a short ways, and that that's where the body was that they had reported to me over the phone.
Did you see anyone there other than law enforcement officials at that time?
And upon my initial response,
When you arrived?
when I arrived there initially,
Body.
I'm not absolutely positive. There was some news media there later, but I don't know when I got there, at what point they arrived.
Sir, but in relationship to where the body was, were any of the news media allowed?
No, just up by the roadway. There was a line placed across the entrance, and they weren't allowed to pass.
What do you mean by a line?
Just a crime scene line, either just marked as nobody could go past this particular point.
Is that to keep unauthorized personnel from coming in and contaminating a possible scene?
Yeah, that's correct.
Objection leading, Your Honor.
Rephrase the question.
You know the purpose of that cordon being set off?
Yeah, it's to keep unauthorized personnel off the scene.
Thank you, sir. All right. Did you follow the trail that you described to the location of the body?
Yes, I did.
Did the photographs that you have before you fairly and accurately depict what you observed?
Yes, they do.
What was the condition of the actual location where the body was in relationship to anything in the way of a covering?
Oh,
Objection leading, Your Honor.
Objection overruled.
You can answer.
okay. When I arrived, there was what appeared to be a small hump in the natural foliage that was covered by a maroon with a black trim rug, the type that you see in front of a business, the type that they take on and off and clean and like in front of a business. It was a good-sized rug, and it almost completely covered the body that was eventually removed from underneath the rug.
At this time, Your Honor, the state would offer what have been previously marked as exhibits in evidence.
Yes,
With the court's permission, may the clerk mark.
yeah, let her mark one, the one that I admitted, did I admit one?
Yes, they had no objection, Your Honor, as I understood it, to E2.
E2, no objection, Your Honor.
E2. That's the one you have to mark.
Back in State Exhibit 9.
Well, the clerk was marking it on that.
Yes, sir.
Sir, what you've previously identified as the scenes at the location on December the 13th, 1989, for the record, as being states E5 composite, L1, Q, and L2. State would move in as evidence at this time, Your Honor.
Counsel, did you see these? Need to approach it.
Yes, sir. Now, Mr. Downing,
Yes, sir.
what has now been admitted as states 9 in evidence, and what was previously admitted as states 8-1 in evidence. Is that the condition of the scene when you first arrived prior to the rug being removed from the body?
Yes, it is.
And sir, subsequent to the rug being removed from the body, and who didn't remove the rug, if you know?
I believe it was a combination of one of the sheriff's investigators and myself. We rolled the rug back. I really don't have a complete independent recollection of who actually removed the rug at this point, no.
Okay, were you present on the rug?
Yes, I was.
Did you document the condition of the body as you saw it while the rug was being removed and subsequent to the rug being removed?
Yes, I took photographs at every stage.
What was the condition of the body when you first observed it after the rug had been removed from it? In which way was it facing in relationship to the ground?
It was laying face down on the ground.
Okay, is that represented fairly in states 10 for identification?
Well, when we first removed the rug, there was either one or two pieces of cardboard that were laying over across the top of the back, which is represented right in here when they were removed. But after they were removed, this accurately represents the position of the body. The body was not moved, just the things that were on top of it.
Solely for the positioning of the body as you observed it after those articles were removed, this is a fair and accurate representation.
That is correct, yes.
Now, did there come a point in time, Judge, may we publish these at this time?
Yes, sir. Those are admitted in evidence.
Yes, sir.
That's 8 and 9, Your Honor.
Mr. Moore.
Your Honor, that would be number 10 that was admitted by the court. Numbers 8, 1, and 9.
Subject to previous objection, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Downing,
Yes, sir.
after the rug was removed from the body, can you describe what, if anything, you did in relationship to the removal of the body and what you observed?
Okay, the standard procedure in this and what we did in this particular situation is that we lay a sheet on the ground alongside of the body, and it was rolled over or picked up and set down over onto the sheet on its back.
Can you describe the articles of clothing that you observed at that time?
Correct. There was blue jeans, a white T-shirt, and a Cordovan type maroon shoes, leather type shoes, and blue socks.
Can you describe whether or not the body had a belt buckle on it? A belt, excuse me.
Yes, there was a brown leather belt.
And what was the condition of the individual's pants?
They were the pockets that were turned inside out on the pants pockets.
Was that as you first observed them?
Yes,
That was immediately upon the body being turned over, is that correct?
yes, sir.
How about the individual zipper? Did you look at it at that time?
No, I didn't observe that. No.
Was anything done to disturb in any way the individual's clothing as you removed the body?
No.
Those photographs, states Q, states L, and states E5, fairly and accurately depict the body as you first observed it in the downward position, and then after it was rolled over into the upward position.
Yes, sir, they do.
And do they fairly and accurately depict the condition of the pants, the shirt, and the belt, as well as the zipper that is contained in the photographs?
Yes, sir, they do.
Now, what, if anything, did you do with the individual that you found at the scene on that date? What is the next procedure?
We then place a body bag that we use for removal, and the sheet is wrapped around the body, and then the body in the sheet is placed into the body bag, and the zipper is placed closed on it for the removal, which we did at this scene.
Okay, now, once the body is removed, where does it go?
Normally, we take it to Halifax Hospital, to the morgue, which is where we do our autopsies. Due to the advanced state of the decomposition in this particular case, we have rules with Halifax that we couldn't do that, so it was removed and placed in the cooler at Bellevue Cedar Hill Funeral Home for the night.
And did you attend an autopsy in regard to the remains that were found at the scene on December 13th, 89, the following day?
The following day, yes, sir, I did.
Let me show you, sir, what has been marked for exhibit purposes of states M1 through 4. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Sir, do you recognize those photographs?
Yes, I do.
Are those photographs fair and accurate representations of the remains that were removed from the scene on December 13th, 1989 to the medical examiner's office for autopsying purposes on December 14th, 1989?
Yes, they are.
Is it one and the same body?
Yes, it is.
Are they fair and accurate representations
Yes.
prior to the actual autopsy procedures themselves beginning?
Yes.
Now, sir, in regard to the hands that the individual is shown in states M composite, are they still in substantially the same condition as they were when you first saw them at the scene on December the 13th, 1985?
Yes, that's exactly the same way they were.
They were not disturbed or removed in any?
No, sir, they were not.
Now, can you describe, sir, what, if any, procedure would be followed by the medical examiner's office in regard to Mr. Mallory's body?
From this point here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we would, Dr. Botting, the medical examiner at that time, would have instructed us, after these photographs were taken, to remove the clothing, which was done. And when it was taken in sections, the first thing to have been removed in this case would have been the shirt.
And you know what, if anything, was done with the shirt after it was removed from the body?
It was placed into a paper bag. It was, and the bag was marked and sealed And all of the clothing at the end of the autopsy was turned over to the Volusia County Sheriff's Department.
Are you familiar with Investigator Lapp?
Yes, sir.
You know whether or not you turned the bag over to him?
Yeah, everything, all the evidence in this case was turned over to Jim Lau.
How about the individual's pants?
Yes, the shirt, the pants, the shoes, and the socks were all turned over to Jim Lau on that date, 12/14 of '89.
Now, were you present during the autopsy?
Yes, sir, I was.
And during the course of that autopsy, were the victim's hands removed for fingerprint identification purposes?
Yes, they were.
And to whom did you give those hands?
I released them also to Investigator Jim Lau.
And subsequent to Mr. Lau obtaining those hands, was a report given back to your office as to the identity of the victim, Mr. Malady?
Yes, they were.
And was his death certified by the medical examiner's office?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Richard Malady.
Yes, sir. Richard Charles Mallory.
Objection, Your Honor. Also, the witness was involved in the certification process.
Lay a further predicate, sir.
So I'll do that without the fire.
All right, sir.
Please record at this time the statement offered that has been previously introduced as an exhibit. Excuse me, Judge, at this time, the state will not make any tender at this time. Sir, did you conduct any further testing at the behest of Dr. Body with regard to attempting to determine the cause of death?
Yes, a full autopsy was conducted by Dr. Botting at this time, yes.
And were any x-rays produced in regard to attempting to determine what would cause Mr. Mallory's death?
Yes, there were.
Unless the witness was involved in the X-raying process.
Were you involved in the x-raying process?
There's two of us in the office that do the x-raying process. We set up the x-ray machine, we take the x-rays and we process them. We both do it jointly together, and I did assist in the x-raying process on this. Yes, I did.
Were you present when it occurred?
Yes, I did. Yes, I was.
Withdrawn, Your Honor.
So you may,
Pardon? Okay, no,
then.
I'm sorry.
you can answer the question.
Oh, yes, I was involved and there were x-rays taken.
Thank you, Mr. Downey. No further questions.
Who's Henry Cross?
Just one moment.
Yes, sir.
Investigator Downing, feel free to, again, look at the photographs and any other reports that you have influences her recollection during the testimony.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any reports pertaining to this case that you may have brought with you?
I have the entire medical examiner's file on this case. Yes, I do.
And do you have that with you?
Yes, sir.
Do you have the medical examiner's report in that file?
His autopsy report? Yes, I do.
Feel free to look at the photographs. The individual depicted in the photographs has both his shoes, does he not?
Yes, sir, he does.
And he has 2 pairs of socks, correct?
Yes, he does.
What was the height of the individual?
The height?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have a height listed for him, a height or a weight listed for him in the
You don't have
file.
either a height or a weight listed
No.
for him? Did you ever ascertain or make any attempt to ascertain his height or weight? Do you yourself?
Myself personally, no.
Did the medical examiner ever make any effort to ascertain his height or weight?
That-
Your Honor, that's best answered by the medical examiner.
Withdraw, Your Honor. Were you involved in carrying the body away?
And carrying it away from the scene?
Were you one of the folks that picked it up and
No.
carried it away? Who did that?
The county has a livery service under contract that does the actual removal for the county.
And Because how did that happen? You indicated a sheet was picked up and the body was put in a bag. How did the body get from the floor into the vehicle to the medical examiner?
Well, as I indicated, the sheet is placed alongside the body, and the body is picked up and rolled. Since the body was face down, if it had been face up, it would have been just lifted over, but in this case, it was face down, so it's turned over and rolled over and laid down on the sheet, on its back. The sheet is rolled over the top of the body, and then the body in the sheet is placed inside the body bag, which is then placed alongside the bag, placed into the body bag. The bag is sealed, and we had it laying there when the removal service arrived. And then the removal service just picked it up, set it on their gurney, and then the gurney was taken back out to the vehicle, wherever they had it placed at this point. I don't remember where they had it.
Do you recall who the individual was that placed the body on the gurney? Individual or individuals?
Yes, it was a Mr. Leonard Wager, W-A-G-E-R. He's the normal transport man that runs the delivery service.
The cardboard that you talked about on direct examination, did you take any photographs of that?
Yes, it appears in this photograph, and it also appears in another photograph that I have in position before it was removed.
Do you recall the condition of the belt buckle?
Independently, no, I don't, other than what it shows in the picture, but I don't, which is kind of a little bit hard to see, but I don't, let me check this. I don't have any really independent recollections. It's a little difficult to tell from this photograph.
Okay, so you don't recall if it was right up front, turned over to the side, exactly where it was on the body? You don't recall it?
No, I don't.
You indicated you have the autopsy report with you?
Yes, it's here in the file. Like I said, I have the whole file.
And you were actually present at the autopsy procedure?
Yes, I was.
During the autopsy procedure, you indicated there were items of clothing that were taken from the body and inventory.
That's correct.
And those included socks,
Yes,
shoes,
yes,
pants,
yes,
a shirt.
yes.
Did he have any underwear on?
I don't believe so. There's no notation in the file on the file. I don't believe he had any underwear on.
Thank you, sir.
Redirect? Yes, sir. This is Remastered.
Yes, sir.
Investigator Downing, since counsel has offered to allow you to refresh your recollection, would you take a close look at the belt buckle in regard to the autopsy picture, which is Exhibit M2 for identification?
Yes, sir.
Okay, doesn't that indicate that that belt and the belt
Objection,
buckle are to
Your
the
Honor.
side? Or can you describe to the jury what you see in the photograph?
Okay. The belt
For the
buckle.
record, Mr. DeMore is leafing through a number of photographs.
Referring to M4, if you would look, please, sir, and tell me what
Admitted in evidence.
No, Your Honor.
Judge Heed offered to allow him to refresh his recollection from.
Remember, don't look at it and refresh your memory, but don't testify about it.
Yes.
The
Having refreshed your, are you able to refresh your recollection from looking at the photographs?
yeah, from the photographs, they do show that the belt buckle is off to the left about, I'd say 4 to 6 inches off to the left, towards the left side of the body, in position in the belt.
So let me show you, it's been previously marked for identification purposes. That states L1 for identification. Ask you if that helps you to refresh your recollection.
Oh, yeah, it's,
Objection, Your Honor.
Objection overruled. Answer the question if you can.
yeah, the belt is definitely off to the left-hand side of the body.
In the same condition at the scene as it is at the medical
Yes,
examiner's office?
yes, almost exactly the same position, yes.
Nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, may this witness be excused subject
Let's see
to...
that he recross.
No recross.
And you need to keep the witness or may he be discharged.
Your Honor, we would like to have him subject to further recall.
You may stand down. You're discharged subject to recall. We'll give a telephone number to the state where you can be contacted. You may depart. You are one of the rule, that is, do not discuss or testify when the case is concluded.
Okay. Thank you. Your Honor, may I gather a full document?
Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Deputy James Malady. I'm employed by the Volusia County Sheriff's Department as a deputy sheriff. I've been employed for approximately 4.5 years.
On December the 13th, 1989, were you on duty as deputy sheriff?
Yes, sir.
All right, sir, were you called to a homicide scene?
Yes, sir.
And can you tell the jury where that was?
It was approximately 3/4 mile north of I-95 on US 1 in Ormond Beach.
Sir, I ask you to, Your Honor, may you step down momentarily?
Yes, sir.
Look at the chart, and after you step down, which is identified as State's Exhibit Number 7, and see if you can find on that northeast Volusia County map the location to which you were dispatched and at which you made the observations about which you will shortly testify.
Yes, right here where it's number 1.
Sir, may you return, Your Honor, to the When you arrived at the scene, sir, was anyone else there?
I had contacted 2 subjects at the gas station just south of the scene, a James Davis and a James Bonchi, and they directed me to the scene.
When you arrived at the scene, can you tell the jury what you saw?
They directed me to the path back in the woods. I had walked back in the woods approximately 50 yards, and there I observed a red carpet. Upon closer examination, I observed a human hand protruding out from under the carpet.
All right, sir. And did you do anything to disturb the scene of the carpet or where you saw the hand at that time?
No, sir. I made some observations. Once I noticed the human hand, I made the observation that the area was littered with debris and garbage. I then exited the woods and secured the scene and notified the supervisor and the major case unit.
All right, sir. I'd ask you to look at Exhibits 8, 1, and 9 and ask if those photographs truly and accurately depict the scene that you described of the hand protruding from underneath the carpet.
Yes, sir. Another thing, the carpet in the picture, it's hard to tell. At the scene, you could tell it was more of a red, brighter red color. I guess because of the lighting, you can't see that too good here.
Okay, so there's a slight color distinction between what you observed and what the photograph represents?
Yes. The carpet was, like I said, a brighter red color, like the kind you would find in front of inside a supermarket door or store.
Well, my question is does that truly accurately depict the scene? Is that the scene or is that a different carpet?
No, that's definitely the scene. Like I said, I guess because of the lighting in the picture, you just can't tell the redness of the carpet.
Okay. Same carpet?
Yes.
To your knowledge, did anyone disturb that scene before you arrived there?
No, sir.
Were you there when the carpet was removed from the body?
Yes, sir, briefly.
Did you observe the body being rolled over after the carpet was removed?
Yes, sir.
Did you observe the condition of the body?
Yes, briefly. Was in a state of decomposing parts of the body.
Can you describe the pants?
Excuse me?
What type of pants, if the body was wearing pants?
Long pants, slacks. I noticed on the pants, the front pockets had been turned inside out.
All right, sir, and what about the zipper?
The zipper was up and the pants were fastened.
I'd like you to examine Exhibit Q for identification. Does that photograph fairly and accurately depict condition of the victim's pants at the time the body was rolled over at the scene to which you just described?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, please, the state would offer that exhibit in depth.
Counsel, can I read this item?
Not sure, Judge. Let's take a look.
Did anyone from the representative of the medical examiner's office come to the scene while you were there?
Yes, sir.
Has the body been disturbed before the ME investigator arrived?
No.
And were you there when the ME made his initial observations at the scene?
Yes, sir.
Do you know who that ME investigator was?
James Downing from the medical examiner's office.
No further questions, Ron. Thank you.
Take fire.
We have moments.
Yep. Needs.
No questions, Ron.
You need to keep the witness or maybe discharged.
Maybe discharge, Your Honor. Thank you.
Do you need a phone number?
We can reach you, Judge. Thank you.
You need to hand that in the clerk, sir. You're telling the rule, that is, you're not discussing testimony of the case.
Your Honor, please.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Would you please tell ladies and gentlemen of the jury your full name
My name is Jeffrey Russell Davis.
and where are you employed, sir, if you are so employed?
I am a probation and parole officer for the Florida Department of Corrections, sir.
And, sir, let me call your attention back to the early evening hours of November the 30th, 1989. Can you tell us where you were employed at that time?
At that time, sir, I worked for Richard Mallory at Mallory Electronics.
And how long did you know Mr. Malady?
A little over a year and a half, sir.
Can you tell us when the last time it is that you saw Richard Malady?
It was on the evening of November 30th, 1989, sir, as we closed the shop at approximately 6:15 in the evening.
And were you familiar with Mr. Malady's motor vehicle?
Yes, sir, I was.
So let me show you what's been marked as an exhibit. States V for identification and states U for identification. I ask you if you're able to recognize either of the objects contained in those photographs.
Yes, sir, I am. The picture on the left.
Sir, without describing at this point, please the court to state, is that a fair and accurate representation of the individual you've described to the jury as your employer, Richard C. Mallory, as of November the 30th, 1989?
Yes, sir, it is.
Please the court to state what offer of state's evidence, states U for identification.
State what?
States U for identification, state's evidence. Let me ask you, sir, you can identify what is contained in states V for identification if you've ever seen that automobile before.
Yes, sir, I have. That's Mr. Mallory's personal vehicle.
Is there anything about that car that is different than when you last saw it?
Yes, sir.
Could you tell the jury what that is, if anything?
Mr. Mallory used to have a Florida Gator, University of Florida Fighting Gator tag attached to the front of the vehicle, sir. And it is missing in this photograph.
Sir, during the course of your knowing Mr. Mallory, have you ever attended any parties together?
Yes, sir, we have.
And could you tell, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, on that occasion, did Mr. Mallory have a camera?
Yes, sir, he did.
Can you describe that camera to the jury?
It was a Polaroid Instamatic camera. It was a unique color. It was sort of a maroonish or a deep raspberry color Polaroid camera.
Your Honor, please the court, I apologize for this. I thought I had a photograph in my possession. I have to go to another room to get it. The court, there's a 2-minute recess.
We'll be taking that away for you.
Yes, sir, I'll hurry.
We won't go up a single minute.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you. Please, the court. So let me show you the marked identification purposes, states X and states W for identification. Ask you if you recognize those photographs, and if you do you recognize the individual portrayed in the photographs?
Yes, sir, these photographs were taken at a combination of my birthday and graduation from the University of South Florida. The individual pictured in there is myself, and this is at my grandmother's residence.
Now, when those photographs were taken, can you tell us whether or not the camera you described to the jury as being Mr. Mallory's contained in the photographs?
Yes, sir, it is.
Please the court to state what offers states W and states X for identification purposes. As stated.
Yes. Have more here. More goodies out there.
Sorry, David.
Try to state counsel will walk on state D for identification purposes described by the witness as Mr. Mallory's automobile. If you can identify that object.
Yes, sir, this is Mr. Mallory's camera. This is
the
the,
camera that was viewed and photographed and could describe that was entered into evidence today.
yes, sir, it is.
It's not the discussion we had at the bench conference. Mr. Moore said used.
Go ahead, let him testify.
Yes, sir, that is the camera that is in the photographs.
Please report the statement offered states why for identification is state's evidence.
May we approach, Your Honor?
Yes, sir, but I think you can just stand right there, though.
Your Honor, it's a foundation objection.
Sustained at this time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Davis. Nothing further.
Yes, sir.
You may inquire. Yes.
Mr. Davis, good afternoon. How are you, sir?
Fine, thank you, sir.
My name is Billy Nolas, and along with Mr. Miller and Ms. Jenkins, I represent Ms. Weiss in this case. Do you know an individual by the name of Jacqueline Davis?
Yes, sir, I do.
And who is she?
She is my mother, sir.
How did you get the job with Mr. Malady?
I asked him for the job.
And how was it that you met Mr. Malady?
I met Mr. Mallory through my mother, sir.
Was there ever a time when Mr. Mallory and your mother were seeing each other?
Yes, sir, they were.
Were they seeing each other on November 30th?
No, sir, at that time they had separated.
Do you know why they had sex?
Objection, Your Honor.
If he has knowledge, he can answer.
No, sir, I do not know why they separated.
Had they separated on occasions prior to that?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance outside the scope.
It's outside the scope. Sustained objection.
The camera that you discussed, just so that I understand it, that was a camera that was depicted in the photograph. In other words, the camera is in the photograph.
Yes, sir, it is.
Did your mother ever comment to you on what she thought of Mr. Powell?
No, sir, I did not involve myself in a personal relationship.
Can I have one, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you, sir.
Any regret?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Any to keep the witness or may be excused?
Your Honor, may he be excused subject to potential recall at a later time.
And subject to recall by the defense, sir.
Yes, sir. If you will leave a telephone number with the state attorney and defense counsel, you may depart. You are under rules, sir, that is, you're not to discuss your testimony until this case is concluded.
Yes, sir.